Lila and the Keeper of Reflections. Chapter 1. The Winding Path. In a small town surrounded by the ancient and mysterious Hoyabachu forest, there lived a curious girl named Lila. Unlike other children who spent their days playing in the fields or helping with chores, Lila was often found wandering near the edge of the forest. The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones about Hoyabachu, known far and wide as a place where the boundaries between worlds blurred, where trees twisted into impossible shapes, and where the very air seemed charged with an otherworldly energy. One misty afternoon, Lila felt a pull stronger than ever before. The trees seemed to beckon her, their branches swaying in rhythm with her heartbeat. She knew the stories, of course, how those who ventured too far into Hoyabachu sometimes never returned, lost in a world beyond the veil of reality. But Lila was not afraid. She had always felt that Hoyabachu held something special, something meant for her alone. As she stepped into the forest, the air grew thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. The path beneath her feet was familiar, yet today it seemed different, more alive. The trees closed in around her, their bark etched with ancient symbols she had never noticed before. Each step took her deeper, the sounds of the town fading until only the rustling leaves and the distant call of an owl remained. Suddenly, the path forked into three. To her left, a narrow, winding trail covered in golden leaves. To her right, a dark, tunnel-like passage, its entrance obscured by thick vines. And straight ahead, a wide road paved with cobblestones that gleamed in the dim light. Lila hesitated, her heart racing. She had never seen these paths before. The forest, it seemed, had shifted, revealing secrets it had kept hidden for centuries. With a deep breath, she chose the path of golden leaves, drawn by its warmth and the gentle glow that seemed to emanate from the ground. As she walked, the trees began to change. Their trunks grew taller, twisting into impossible shapes, their branches stretching out like arms reaching for the sky. The leaves above shimmered with a golden hue, as if touched by the last light of a setting sun. The air hummed with energy, and Lila felt a strange sensation, like she was being watched, but not with malice. It was as if the forest itself was alive, observing her with a mix of curiosity and anticipation. The path twisted and turned, leading her to a clearing where a single, enormous tree stood in the center. Its roots dug deep into the earth, its branches spreading wide, casting intricate patterns of light and shadow on the ground. At the base of the tree, a small wooden door, barely visible among the roots, caught her eye. It was carved with symbols similar to those on the trees, and in the center, a doorknob made of a glowing, amber-like substance. Lila's hand trembled as she reached for the doorknob. As soon as her fingers touched it, the door swung open with a creak, revealing a spiral staircase descending into the darkness. Without hesitation, she stepped inside, the door closing silently behind her. The stairs wound down and down, lit by small, flickering lanterns that floated in midair. The deeper she went, the cooler the air became, and the walls, made of smooth stone, began to glisten with moisture. Finally, she reached the bottom, where a grand hall spread out before her, its ceiling high and vaulted, the walls lined with shelves filled with countless books and odd trinkets. In the center of the room stood stood a large, ornate mirror framed in silver, its surface rippling like water. Lila approached the mirror, her reflection distorted and blurred. She reached out, and the moment her fingers touched the surface, it rippled, pulling her inside. Chapter 2. The Mirror World. Lila stumbled forward, expecting to hit the ground, but instead, she floated weightlessly. She found herself in a world unlike any she had ever imagined. A place where the sky was a swirl of colors, where islands floated in the air, and where rivers flowed upward into the clouds. She landed gently on one of the floating islands, its surface covered in soft, moss-like grass that tickled her bare feet. The air here was different, crisp and fragrant, filled with the scent of blooming flowers and fresh rain. The island was small, surrounded by an endless expanse of shimmering sky, and at its center stood a peculiar figure. The figure was tall and slender, draped in a robe that seemed to be made of shifting shadows and light. Its face was obscured by a hood, but Lila could see two glowing eyes peering out from within. As she approached, the figure raised a hand in greeting. "Welcome, Lila," the figure said, its voice echoing softly in the air. "You have entered the mirror world, a place where reality bends and dreams take form." "Who are you?" Lila asked, both curious and wary. "I am the Keeper of Reflections," the figure replied. "I guide those who find their way to this realm, those who seek the truth hidden within their own hearts." Lila felt a strange connection to the Keeper, as if they had met before in some forgotten dream. "Why am I here?" The Keeper gestured to the world around them. "The mirror world is a reflection of your inner self, a place where your deepest desires, fears, and memories come to life. To leave, you must journey through this world and face what lies within." Lila looked around, noticing that the other floating islands seemed to shift and change, as if reacting to her thoughts. On one island, she saw a version of her childhood home, but with flowers that sang softly in the breeze. On another, a vast forest filled with towering trees and glowing creatures that darted between the branches. "How do I begin?" Lila asked, feeling both excited and apprehensive. The Keeper smiled, a flicker of warmth in their glowing eyes. "Follow the path of your heart, trust in yourself, and you will find the way." With that, the Keeper faded into the shadows, leaving Lila alone on the island. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, the island shifting beneath her feet. As she walked, the ground began to extend, forming a bridge to the next island. She crossed over, the world around her humming with life and possibility. Each island she encountered held a piece of her past, present, or future. Memories long forgotten, dreams yet to be realized, and fears that lurked in the corners of her mind. On one island, she met a younger version of herself, sitting by a stream and weaving a crown of flowers. The child looked up at her with wide eyes, and Lila felt a rush of nostalgia. "Do you remember me?" the child asked, holding out the crown. Lila knelt down, taking the crown and placing it on her head. "I do," she whispered. "I used to dream of a world like this, a place where anything was possible." The child smiled, her image shimmering before fading away like a wisp of smoke. Lila continued her journey, each step bringing her closer to understanding herself and the world she had entered. Chapter 3. The Labyrinth of Echoes. As Lila ventured deeper into the mirror world, the islands became more complex, their landscapes shifting and changing with each passing thought. She encountered towering mountains made of crystal, forests where the trees sang songs of forgotten times, and cities filled with strange, ethereal beings who spoke in riddles and rhymes. Eventually, she reached a vast labyrinth, its walls made of polished mirrors that reflected not only her image, but also the countless versions of herself she had encountered along the way. The labyrinth twisted and turned, its corridors leading to dead ends, hidden passages, and secret rooms filled with memories, both joyful and painful. Lila felt a sense of urgency as she navigated the labyrinth, knowing that her journey was reaching its climax. The reflections in the mirrors whispered to her, their voices overlapping and creating a cacophony of sound that echoed in her mind. "Why are you here?" one reflection asked, its voice soft and haunting. "What do you seek?" another questioned, its tone more demanding. "Who are you?" a third inquired, its voice filled with curiosity. Lila paused, looking at the multitude of reflections surrounding her. Each one was a part of her, a piece of her soul laid bare for her to see. She took a deep breath and spoke aloud, her voice steady and clear. "I am Lila," she said, her words echoing through the labyrinth. "I seek the truth within myself, the strength to face my fears, and the courage to embrace my dreams." The reflections fell silent, their images merging into a single, unified reflection that stood before her. This version of herself was older, wiser, and wore a crown of stars that glittered in the dim light. "You have faced the mirror world and uncovered its secrets," the reflection said, her voice filled with pride. "But your journey is not yet over. The final test lies ahead." The reflection stepped aside, revealing a door at the end of the corridor. It was made of silver, adorned with intricate carvings of the world she had encountered. Lila approached the door, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that whatever lay beyond would change her forever. With a deep breath, she opened the door and stepped through. Chapter 4: The Realm of Possibilities. Lila found herself standing on the edge of a vast ocean, its waters shimmering with 1,000 colors. The sky above was a canvas of swirling stars and galaxies, and in the distance, she could see the outlines of countless worlds, each one waiting to be explored. The ocean was unlike any she had ever seen. It seemed to pulse with life, its waves moving with a deliberate rhythm, as if guided by some unseen force. Lila felt a deep sense of wonder as she gazed out at the horizon, where the sky and sea met in a dazzling display of light and color. As she took a step closer to the water's edge, she noticed something extraordinary. The sand beneath her feet was not ordinary sand. It was made up of tiny, glimmering crystals that shifted and changed color with each step she took. Every movement sent ripples of light cascading across the beach, illuminating the world around her in a kaleidoscope of hues. Without hesitation, Lila stepped into the water. To her surprise, it was warm, almost comforting, and it wrapped around her like a gentle embrace. She took another step, and then another, until she was fully submerged. The water held her, buoyant and free, and as she floated, she realized that she could breathe effortlessly, as if the ocean had become a part of her. Beneath the surface, the ocean was a world unto itself. Schools of shimmering fish darted through the water, their scales catching the light and reflecting it in every direction. Strange, and beautiful creatures swam alongside her, some with wings like butterflies, others with long, flowing tails that trailed behind them like ribbons of silk. Coral formations, shaped like delicate flowers, and spiraling towers dotted the ocean floor, creating a vibrant and ever-changing landscape. Drawn by an unseen current, Lila drifted toward a large luminescent cave nestled within the coral. The entrance to the cave was adorned with glowing crystals that pulsed with a soft, welcoming light. As she entered, she felt the water around her grow warmer, and the cave walls began to shimmer with iridescent patterns. At the heart of the cave, Lila discovered a large, smooth stone set in the center of a circular chamber. The stone was etched with intricate designs, similar to the symbols she had seen earlier in Hoyabachu. Above it hovered a small, glowing orb, pulsating with a gentle light that seemed to call out to her. Lila approached the stone, her fingers brushing against its cool surface. As she did, the orb descended and hovered just above her open palm. It felt warm, almost alive, and as she held it, she felt a surge of energy coursing through her. The orb began to glow brighter, and suddenly, the chamber was filled with a vision. Lila saw herself standing on the shore of the ocean, but this time, she was not alone. Figures from her past and future appeared around her. Her family, friends, and people she had yet to meet. Each one smiled at her, their faces filled with love and encouragement. "You are the bridge between worlds," a voice echoed in her mind. "The choices you make here will shape not only your destiny, but the destinies of those you love. Embrace your strength, your courage, and your heart, and you will find the path forward." As the vision faded, the orb in her hand transformed into a delicate pendant, the glowing crystal now encased in a simple silver setting. Lila placed it around her neck, feeling its warmth against her skin. With renewed determination, she left the cave, swimming upward toward the surface. As she broke through the water, she found herself back on the shimmering beach. The ocean, the stars, and the worlds in the distance still called to her. But now she understood that the true journey lay within her own heart. Chapter 5. The Return to Hoyabachu. Lila walked along the beach, the pendant glowing softly at her throat. She felt a profound connection to everything around her. The sky, the sea, the countless possibilities that stretched out before her. She knew that she could explore these worlds forever. But something deep within her urged her to return to where it all began. With a final glance at the vast ocean, Lila closed her eyes and focused on the pendant. The warmth spread through her body, and in an instant, she felt herself being pulled back through the mirror world, the islands and labyrinths flashing by in a blur of color and light. When she opened her eyes, she was standing once again at the base of the enormous tree in Hoyabachu Forest. The door she had entered through was closed, and the forest around her was quiet. As if holding its breath, Lila looked around, feeling a strange mix of familiarity and change. The symbols on the tree, once mysterious and cryptic, now seemed to glow with a soft, welcoming light. The path of golden leaves stretched out before her, leading back to the town she had left behind. As she walked, the forest seemed to part for her, the trees swaying gently in the breeze. The air was filled with the scent of pine and damp earth, but now it felt comforting, like a warm embrace from an old friend. The sounds of the town gradually returned, but they were no longer distant or faint. Instead, they were clear and vibrant, filled with life and energy. When Lila emerged from the forest, she found herself back in the town, standing at the edge of the familiar fields. The sun was setting, casting a golden light over the town. And in the distance, she could see the familiar figures of her family and friends going about their evening routines. But Lila knew that she had changed. The girl who had entered Hoyabachu was no longer the same. She had journeyed through worlds, faced her deepest fears, and discovered the strength within herself. She had become something more. Someone who understood the power of dreams, the importance of courage, and the magic that lay within her own heart. As she walked back toward the town, Lila smiled, knowing that her adventure was far from over. Hoyabachu Forest would always be there, waiting for her to return. And the mirror world would continue to shift and change with her every thought. But for now, she was content to walk among her loved ones, knowing that the real magic lay in the choices she made, the love she gave, and the dreams she would continue to chase. The end.